The 8-hour myth, why your sleep need is uniquely yours. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe deeply. Right now, in this quiet space, I want you to consider something that has shaped your entire life without you even realizing it. For decades, we have been told a simple truth. You need 8 hours of sleep. 8 hours. Not 7. Not 9. 8. This number has become so ingrained in our collective consciousness that it feels like a universal law, as immutable as gravity itself. Yet what if I told you that this number, this seemingly scientific certainty, is actually one of the most persistent myths in modern sleep science? What if the truth about your sleep needs is far more nuanced, far more personal, and far more fascinating than any simple formula could ever capture? Before we begin this journey through the science of sleep and the myths that surround it, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the Relaxing Science channel. Give this video a like, and in the comments below, please share your location and what time it is where you are right now. Your voice matters in this community, and I want to know where you're listening from as we explore these truths together. Now, let us return to that number, 8 hours. Where did it come from and why has it persisted for so long? The answer is more interesting than you might expect. The 8-hour recommendation didn't emerge from a single groundbreaking study or from some ancient wisdom passed down through generations. Instead, it evolved gradually throughout the 20th century, shaped by industrial schedules, cultural norms, and a general desire to create a one-size-fits-all answer to a deeply complex biological question. In the 1920s and 1930s, when sleep science was still in its infancy, researchers began to notice that people seemed to sleep around 8 hours on average. This observation, combined with the emerging industrial schedule of 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest and 8 hours of leisure, created a perfect storm of cultural reinforcement. The number felt right. It aligned with our work schedules. It gave people something concrete to aim for, and so it became gospel. But here is where modern neuroscience steps in with a more sophisticated understanding. Your sleep need is not determined by some universal constant. It is determined by your genetics, your age, your lifestyle, your stress levels, and your individual circadian biology. Some people are genuinely short sleepers, requiring only 5 or 6 hours to feel completely restored. Others are long sleepers, needing 9, 10, or even 11 hours to function optimally. Both groups are perfectly normal. Both are healthy. Both are following the natural blueprint written into their DNA. Research conducted at universities across the world has shown that sleep duration needs are distributed across a spectrum, much like height or intelligence. The average might cluster around 7 to 9 hours, but the extremes are far more common than we once believed. What makes this even more remarkable is that your sleep need can change throughout your life. A teenager's brain is wired differently than an adult's brain, and teenagers genuinely require more sleep, not because they are lazy or undisciplined, but because their neurological development demands it. Their brains are still pruning connections, reorganizing neural pathways, and consolidating enormous amounts of information. A teenager who consistently receives only 7 hours of sleep is actually sleep deprived, even though that same amount might be sufficient for a 40-year-old adult. Similarly, as we age, our sleep architecture changes. The quality of our sleep shifts, the distribution of different sleep stages transforms, and our ability to achieve deep, restorative sleep may evolve. Yet this doesn't necessarily mean we need less sleep overall. We might need the same amount or more to achieve the same restorative benefits. The consequences of believing in the 8-hour myth are surprisingly profound. Many people lie awake at night, frustrated and anxious, because they have been in bed for 8 hours but don't feel rested. This frustration itself becomes a barrier to sleep. They begin to worry that something is wrong with them, that their brain is broken, that they are failing at this most basic human function. Yet the real problem might be far simpler. Perhaps 8 hours is simply not their magic number. Perhaps their body needs 7, and they are spending an extra hour in bed, tossing and turning, their mind active and alert, their nervous system unable to settle into the deeper rest they actually need. Or perhaps they need 9 hours, and they have been chronically sleep deprived for years, never quite reaching the restoration their brain requires. The anxiety created by chasing an arbitrary number can itself become a cause of insomnia, a vicious cycle that traps people in frustration. This is where the science becomes truly empowering. Instead of aiming for 8 hours, the modern sleep science approach is to listen to your own body. Pay attention to how you feel. Notice your energy levels, your emotional regulation, your cognitive clarity. Observe your sleep patterns over weeks and months, not days. Your true sleep need is the amount of sleep that allows you to wake up feeling genuinely refreshed, to move through your day with steady energy and focus, and to feel alert without relying on stimulants. This might be 6 hours, it might be 10 hours. The number matters far less than the quality of your wakefulness and the depth of your rest. The 8-hour myth also intersects with something even more important, the tyranny of the sleep diary. Many people, in their quest to achieve 8 hours, begin to obsessively track their sleep. They use apps, wearables, and devices designed to measure every second of unconsciousness. While data can be useful, this obsession can also backfire. The more you worry about whether you are sleeping enough, the harder it becomes to actually sleep. Your mind becomes focused on the measurement rather than the experience. Your nervous system senses the anxiety and remains vigilant rather than settling into rest. This hypervigilance about sleep duration can actually reduce your sleep quality and increase your sense of sleep deprivation, creating the very problem you are trying to prevent. As we move forward in this exploration, keep this foundational truth close to your heart. Your sleep need is uniquely yours. It is written into your biology, shaped by your genetics, and expressed through your individual experience. The 8-hour standard was never meant to be a prison. It was meant to be a helpful guideline for a population average. But you are not an average. You are a specific individual human being with your own neurological blueprint, your own circadian rhythm, your own sleep architecture. The first step toward better sleep is releasing the guilt and anxiety around arbitrary numbers and beginning to listen to what your own body is actually telling you. That is the foundation upon which all genuine sleep improvement rests. The science of individual sleep architecture, how your brain decides what you need every night. When you close your eyes and drift into sleep, something extraordinary happens inside your brain. It is not a simple switch that turns off consciousness. Rather, it is an intricate dance of different stages, each with its own rhythm, its own purpose, and its own contribution to your overall well-being. Understanding this architecture, this internal structure of sleep itself, is essential to grasping why the 8-hour myth fails so spectacularly. Your brain does not simply rest uniformly for 8 hours. Instead, it cycles through distinct phases in a pattern that repeats throughout the night. And these cycles are as individual and unique as your fingerprints. When you first lie down and begin to drift towards sleep, your brain enters what scientists call light sleep, or stage 1 and stage 2 non-REM sleep. During this time, your heart rate slows, your body temperature drops slightly, and your brain waves begin to shift from the rapid, busy patterns of wakefulness into slower, more synchronized rhythms. This transition is not instantaneous. It is a gentle descent, a gradual letting go. Your conscious mind begins to release its grip on the external world. Sensory awareness diminishes. Thoughts become less linear, less organized. This stage might last anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, depending on your individual biology and the conditions around you. For some people, this transition is quick and easy, almost automatic. For others, it requires patience and time. Neither pattern is wrong. Both are simply expressions of different nervous system configurations. After this initial descent, your brain moves into deeper stages of non-REM sleep. This is where something remarkable begins to happen. Your brain enters what many researchers call slow-wave sleep, characterized by the emergence of delta waves, the slowest brainwave patterns we can measure. During this phase, your body becomes even more still, your muscles relax completely, your breathing becomes deeper and more regular. If someone were to watch you during this stage, they would see a person who appears profoundly at rest, almost unreachable. And this appearance matches the reality of what is happening in your brain. During slow-wave sleep, your prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for conscious thought and decision-making, becomes relatively quiet. Meanwhile, other regions of your brain become active in ways that serve crucial restorative functions. This is when something truly miraculous occurs. Your brain begins a process called glymphatic clearance. Think of it like this. Throughout your waking hours, your brain accumulates metabolic waste products. Your neurons fire constantly, forming new connections, processing information, generating thoughts and emotions and memories. This activity creates byproducts, including a particularly troublesome protein called beta amyloid. During wakefulness, your brain cannot efficiently clear these waste products. But during deep sleep, something changes. The cells in your brain actually shrink, creating more space between them. This expanded space allows cerebrospinal fluid to flow through your brain more freely, washing away accumulated toxins and waste. It is your brain's nightly housekeeping service, and it cannot be rushed. It cannot be abbreviated. It requires time in these deep, slow-wave stages. The amount of deep sleep you need is not the same as the amount of light sleep you need. Some people's brains are naturally efficient at deep sleep. They might spend 30% of their night in these slow-wave stages, meaning they achieve significant restorative benefits in just 6 hours. Others might spend a smaller percentage of their sleep time in deep sleep, requiring 9 or 10 hours to accumulate enough of these restorative cycles. This individual variation is not a flaw. It is not a sign that something is wrong. It is simply how human brains are built. We have different architectures, different proportions, different efficiencies. But the story becomes even more complex when we introduce REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep. This is the stage where most of your vivid dreams occur, where your eyes dart rapidly beneath closed lids, where your brain activity actually increases to levels nearly as high as when you are awake. During REM sleep, your muscles become paralyzed, except for your diaphragm and your eye muscles. This paralysis is not a bug in the system. It is a feature. It prevents you from acting out your dreams, from running or fighting or falling in response to the vivid experiences unfolding in your mind. During REM sleep, your brain is doing something equally crucial as the waste clearance happening during deep sleep. It is consolidating emotional memories, processing complex information, and maintaining the neural connections that underlie your personality and identity. Your brain cycles through these stages in a pattern that repeats throughout the night. You might spend 90 minutes in the first cycle, moving through light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. Then the cycle begins again. But here is where it gets interesting. The proportion of deep sleep to REM sleep shifts across the night. Early cycles tend to have more deep sleep. Later cycles tend to have more REM sleep. This is why people who sleep only 5 or 6 hours might be missing most of their REM sleep, even though they might be getting some deep sleep. They are getting an incomplete picture of the restorative processes their brain needs. Similarly, someone sleeping 12 hours might be cycling through these stages multiple times, accumulating both deep sleep and REM sleep in amounts that their particular brain requires for optimal function. Your individual sleep architecture is also influenced by your age. A newborn baby spends about 50% of sleep time in REM sleep, a far higher proportion than adults. This makes biological sense. A baby's brain is rapidly developing, forming new connections at an astounding rate. REM sleep, with its role in consolidating memories and maintaining neural connections, is essential to this developmental process. As you grow through childhood and adolescence, the proportion of REM sleep gradually decreases. By adulthood, it settles at around 20 to 25%. In older age, the architecture shifts again. Older adults often experience less deep sleep and more fragmented sleep, waking more frequently throughout the night. This is not necessarily a sign of poor sleep quality in the way we might think of it in younger people. It is simply a reflection of how the aging brain's sleep architecture evolves. Your sleep architecture is also remarkably sensitive to your environment and your lifestyle. When you are stressed or anxious, your brain spends less time in deep sleep and more time in lighter stages, where you are more easily awakened by external stimuli. This makes evolutionary sense. When your nervous system perceives a threat or challenge, it maintains higher vigilance even during sleep. Your sleep becomes lighter, more fragmented. Conversely, when you feel safe and secure, when your nervous system is in a state of parasympathetic calm, your brain can afford to sink deeper into slow-wave sleep. Exercise also influences your sleep architecture. Regular physical activity, especially if done in the morning or afternoon, tends to increase the amount of deep sleep your brain experiences. This is another reason why sleep and physical activity are so intimately connected. Understanding your personal sleep architecture means recognizing that the quality of your sleep matters as much as the quantity. You might sleep 8 hours, but spend only a small portion of that time in deep sleep, making you feel relatively unrefreshed. Or you might sleep 7 hours, but have a sleep architecture that is rich in both deep sleep and REM sleep, waking up feeling completely restored. The 8-hour myth ignores this crucial distinction. It treats all sleep as equivalent, as if an hour of light sleep is the same as an hour of deep sleep, but they are not the same. They serve different functions. They contribute differently to your overall restoration. The science of sleep architecture reveals that what truly matters is not how long you sleep, but what happens inside your brain while you sleep. That is the real measure of sleep quality, and it is profoundly individual. The sleep debt paradox. Why catching up on weekends doesn't work the way you think. There is a belief so widespread, so intuitively appealing, that it has become embedded in the cultural fabric of modern life. If you lose sleep during the week, you can simply catch up on the weekend. Stay up late on Friday night, sleep until noon on Saturday, and you will be fine. Your sleep debt will be paid off. You will start the new week refreshed and restored. This idea is so appealing because it offers a kind of permission. It allows us to believe that we can compromise our sleep during the week, sacrificing rest in pursuit of work or social activities, knowing that we can simply reclaim those hours later. Yet the reality of sleep science is far more nuanced and in many ways far less forgiving than this comforting narrative suggests. The concept of sleep debt itself is scientifically sound. When you consistently sleep less than your body needs, you do indeed accumulate a deficit. Your brain notices this deficit. Your cognitive function suffers. Your emotional regulation becomes more difficult. Your immune system becomes more vulnerable. Your metabolism shifts in ways that can increase hunger and promote weight gain. All of these consequences are real and measurable. The problem is not with the concept of sleep debt. The problem is with the assumption that this debt can be easily repaid by sleeping extra hours on the weekend. Here is what happens at the neurological level when you try to catch up on sleep. Your circadian rhythm, the internal biological clock that regulates your sleep-wake cycle, is exquisitely sensitive to consistency. Your brain has evolved to expect sleep at certain times of day and wakefulness at other times. This rhythm is not something you can easily override or adjust on a weekly basis. When you stay up late on Friday night and then sleep until noon on Saturday, you are sending conflicting signals to your circadian system. Your brain receives the message that the sleep-wake schedule has suddenly shifted. This disruption can take several days to resolve. In fact, research has shown that it takes approximately 3 to 4 days for your circadian rhythm to adjust to a new sleep schedule. This means that your weekend sleep catch-up is often disrupting your circadian rhythm at the very moment when you are trying to recover from sleep deprivation. Moreover, the sleep you catch up on the weekend is not equivalent to regular sleep taken at your normal time. When you sleep late on Saturday morning, you are sleeping during a time when your body temperature is naturally rising, when your cortisol levels are beginning to increase, and when your brain is being signaled by daylight and social cues that it is time to be awake. This is working against your natural biology. You might be lying in bed, but your brain is receiving mixed messages about whether it should actually be sleeping. The result is that your weekend sleep, while perhaps longer in duration, may not be as restorative as sleep taken during your normal sleep window. There is another crucial aspect to this paradox. When you are sleep deprived during the week, your brain becomes increasingly focused on obtaining sleep as soon as possible. This can actually make it harder to sleep well on the weekend. Your anxiety about finally getting to sleep, combined with the disruption to your circadian rhythm, can create a state of hyperarousal. You lie in bed on Saturday morning, knowing you have finally carved out time to sleep, and your mind becomes active. You might sleep longer, but the sleep quality may be compromised by this underlying tension. Additionally, the weekend catch-up approach often creates a problematic pattern. You sleep poorly during the week because you are going to bed late and waking early. Your sleep debt accumulates. Then on the weekend you oversleep, which often leaves you feeling groggy and disoriented. This grogginess, called sleep inertia, is the result of waking up during a deeper stage of sleep than you would normally wake during. Your brain takes time to transition from deep sleep to full wakefulness, and this transition is more jarring when you have shifted your sleep schedule significantly. So you wake up on Saturday afternoon feeling worse than you did during the week, even though you slept more. This creates a perverse incentive. You might tell yourself that you need to sleep even longer, pushing your wake time even later, which further disrupts your circadian rhythm and makes it even harder to return to your normal schedule on Sunday night. The research on this phenomenon is quite clear. Studies examining people who practice chronic sleep restriction during the week, followed by weekend sleep extension, have shown that this pattern does not fully eliminate the cognitive and physiological consequences of sleep deprivation. Performance on attention tasks remains impaired. Mood continues to be negatively affected. Metabolic markers continue to show signs of stress. The weekend sleep helps, certainly. You are not gaining nothing from it, but you are not fully recovering either. The damage done by sleep deprivation during the week is not completely erased by extra sleep on the weekend. What makes this even more interesting is that the timing of sleep debt repayment matters in ways we are only beginning to understand. If you lose sleep on Monday night, your brain is most receptive to recovering that sleep on Tuesday night, not on Saturday night. The longer the gap between the sleep deprivation and the sleep recovery, the less effective the recovery becomes. Your brain has already adapted to the sleep-deprived state. It has upregulated certain stress hormones. It has shifted its metabolic processes. By the time Saturday arrives, your brain is in a different state than it was on Monday. Catching up then is like trying to repair something after it has already rusted and degraded. You can address some of the damage, but not all of it. There is also the issue of what sleep researchers call social jet lag. When you maintain one sleep schedule during the week and a completely different schedule on the weekend, your body is essentially experiencing a form of jet lag every single week. Your circadian rhythm is constantly being disrupted. This chronic disruption has been associated with increased risk of metabolic disorders, mood disorders, and cardiovascular issues. The weekend catch-up, while perhaps addressing some of the acute effects of sleep deprivation, actually perpetuates the circadian disruption that is itself harmful to your health. The paradox, then, is this: the very strategy that feels like it should work, that seems to make intuitive sense, is often counterproductive. The 8-hour myth combined with the weekend catch-up myth creates a vicious cycle. You believe you need 8 hours, so you feel guilty when you sleep less during the week. You plan to make up for it on the weekend. This plan gives you permission to compromise your sleep during the week. You stay up late, you wake early, your sleep debt accumulates. Then the weekend arrives and you try to catch up, but the catch-up is disrupted by circadian misalignment and the biological changes that have already occurred in response to sleep deprivation. You start the next week still not fully recovered, and the cycle begins again. The solution, according to modern sleep science, is far less exciting but far more effective. Consistency matters more than quantity. Maintaining a regular sleep schedule, even if that schedule involves slightly less sleep than some theoretical ideal, is more beneficial than varying your sleep schedule based on how much sleep you think you owe yourself. If you genuinely need 9 hours, aim for 9 hours consistently. If you need 7 hours, commit to 7 hours consistently. Your circadian rhythm will adjust. Your sleep architecture will stabilize. Your recovery will be genuine, not illusory. The weekend catch-up is an understandable temptation, but it is ultimately a myth that perpetuates the very sleep problems it promises to solve. Circadian rhythms and the illusion of best sleeping hours. When your body actually wants rest, imagine that inside your brain there exists a master clock. This clock does not measure minutes or hours in the way we normally think of time. Instead, it measures the great cycles of day and night, light and darkness, activity and rest. This master clock, located in a tiny region of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, is one of the most powerful regulators of your physiology. It influences not just your sleep and wakefulness, but your hormone levels, your body temperature, your digestion, your immune function, and countless other processes. This is your circadian rhythm, and it operates on a roughly 24-hour cycle that is synchronized with the rotation of the Earth. Yet here is where popular sleep mythology often becomes disconnected from biological reality. Many people believe there is a universal optimal time to sleep, a window during which sleep is most restorative. This belief is largely false. The truth is far more personal. Your circadian rhythm is not identical to everyone else's. While the general pattern of being awake during the day and sleeping at night is nearly universal among humans, the exact timing of this rhythm varies from person to person. Some people are naturally early risers, their circadian rhythms programmed to shift toward wakefulness in the early morning hours. These are the people who wake at 5 or 6 in the morning feeling refreshed, who feel alert and energized in the early part of the day, and who begin to feel tired by 9 or 10 at night. We call them morning people or larks. Others have circadian rhythms that shift later. They naturally feel alert in the late evening, their energy peaks in the afternoon and evening, and they struggle to feel fully awake in the early morning hours. These are the evening people, or owls. Neither pattern is superior, neither is more natural or correct. They are simply different expressions of circadian variation within the human population. This variation is not merely psychological or cultural, it has a genetic basis. Researchers have identified multiple genes that influence circadian timing. Some of these genes make your circadian period slightly shorter than 24 hours, pushing you toward being an earlier riser. Others make your period slightly longer, pushing you toward later sleep and wake times. You inherit these genes from your parents, and they are as much a part of your biology as your eye color or your height. This means that the common advice to sleep from 10 at night to 6 in the morning, or to sleep from 11 at night to 7 in the morning, is not universally optimal. It might be perfect for someone whose circadian rhythm naturally aligns with that schedule. But for someone whose genetic circadian timing is different, that schedule represents a constant battle against their biology. What makes this even more complex is that your circadian rhythm is not fixed. It is constantly being adjusted by environmental cues, called Zeitgebers, which means time givers. Light is the most powerful Zeitgeber. When light enters your eyes, especially bright blue light from the morning sun, it sends a signal to your suprachiasmatic nucleus. This signal essentially says, "This is morning. Reset your internal clock. Adjust your rhythms accordingly." This is why morning sunlight exposure is so important for maintaining a healthy circadian rhythm. It anchors your rhythm to the actual light-dark cycle of the environment. Similarly, darkness signals evening to your brain. When the sun sets and darkness falls, your brain begins to increase the production of melatonin, a hormone that promotes sleep. This process begins naturally in the evening, preparing your body for sleep. But here is where modern life creates a profound disruption. Most people spend their days indoors, under artificial lighting that is far dimmer than natural sunlight. Then, in the evening, they expose themselves to bright artificial light, including the blue spectrum light from screens. This sends contradictory signals to their circadian system. The morning light exposure is insufficient to properly anchor their rhythm. The evening light exposure is excessive, delaying the production of melatonin and pushing their circadian rhythm later. The result is a kind of chronic circadian misalignment. Your internal clock is running on a different schedule than your external environment and your social obligations. You are trying to sleep at a time when your circadian rhythm is telling you to be awake. You are trying to wake at a time when your circadian rhythm is telling you to sleep. Now there is another layer to this. Your circadian rhythm is not just about sleep and wakefulness, it is about when your body is optimized for different functions. Your cortisol levels, which peak in the early morning and naturally decline throughout the day, follow a circadian pattern. Your body temperature, which is highest in the late afternoon and lowest in the early morning, follows a circadian pattern. Your digestive system, your hormonal system, your immune system, all of these operate on circadian schedules. This means that the best time for you to sleep is not necessarily when you think it should be. It is when your circadian rhythm is naturally driving you towards sleep. For a true morning person, sleep might be most restorative from 9 at night to 5 in the morning. For a true evening person, sleep might be most restorative from 1 in the morning to 9 in the morning. And for most people, who fall somewhere in between, sleep might be most restorative from around 11 at night to 7 in the morning. But the key word here is your. The best sleeping hours are the hours that align with your individual circadian rhythm. They are not a universal prescription. They are a personal discovery. What complicates this further is that modern society is largely structured for morning people. Work typically begins in the morning. School starts in the morning. Social activities often occur in the afternoon. This means that evening people are constantly trying to function during the hours when their circadian rhythm is telling them to sleep. They are fighting their biology not just at bedtime, but throughout the day. A teenager who is genetically wired to be an evening person is being asked to wake up at 6 in the morning for school, at a time when their circadian rhythm is telling them to sleep deeply. This is not laziness. This is not a failure of discipline. This is a genuine conflict between individual biology and social structure. The research on this is quite compelling. When evening people are allowed to sleep according to their natural circadian rhythm, their sleep quality improves dramatically. Their cognitive function improves, their mood improves, their health markers improve. The same is true for morning people who are forced to sleep later than their circadian rhythm prefers. They sleep worse. They wake feeling less refreshed. They struggle with the transition from sleep to wakefulness. The solution is not to force everyone into the same sleep schedule. The solution is to recognize that human circadian rhythms are diverse, and that honoring your individual rhythm is more important than adhering to some universal standard of when sleep should occur. This recognition has practical implications. If you are an evening person, trying to force yourself to sleep at 9 in the evening might be fighting against your biology. You might lie awake, frustrated, unable to sleep, because your circadian rhythm is not yet priming your body for sleep. Allowing yourself to sleep later, perhaps from midnight to 8 in the morning, might result in better sleep quality, even though the total duration is the same. Similarly, if you are a morning person, trying to stay up until midnight might be equally counterproductive. Your body is ready for sleep at 10. Forcing yourself to stay awake is unnecessary and unhelpful. The best sleeping hours are not a universal truth. They are a personal one, written into your circadian biology and waiting for you to discover them. The deep sleep misconception: quality over quantity in the darkness. There is a particular obsession that has emerged in the world of sleep tracking and sleep optimization. People become fixated on their deep sleep percentage. They check their sleep apps each morning, scanning for the number that tells them what percentage of their sleep was spent in slow-wave sleep. If the number is high, they feel satisfied. If it is low, they feel disappointed or concerned. This metric has become a kind of sleep status symbol, a way of measuring success in the domain of rest. Yet this obsession with deep sleep percentage, while understandable, often misses something crucial about how deep sleep actually works and what it actually means for your overall well-being. Let us first clarify what we mean by deep sleep. Deep sleep, also called slow-wave sleep or stage 3 non-REM sleep, is characterized by the presence of delta waves in your brain activity. These are the slowest brain waves we can measure, oscillating at frequencies below 2 Hz. During deep sleep, your brain is in a state of profound rest. Your muscles are completely relaxed. Your body temperature drops. Your metabolic rate decreases. From an external perspective, you appear profoundly asleep, almost unreachable. From an internal perspective, your brain is engaged in crucial restorative processes. This is when the glymphatic system is most active, clearing metabolic waste from your brain. This is when growth hormone is released, facilitating tissue repair and recovery. This is when your immune system consolidates memories of pathogens it has encountered, strengthening your ability to fight future infections. All of this is true and important. Deep sleep is genuinely valuable. The problem arises when people begin to believe that more deep sleep is always better, that the goal should be to maximize the percentage of sleep spent in slow-wave stages. This belief leads to a kind of arms race in sleep optimization. People try various strategies to increase their deep sleep. They experiment with supplements. They adjust their exercise routines. They manipulate their room temperature. They try different sleep positions. All of this effort is directed toward a single goal: achieving a higher deep sleep percentage. Yet here is what the science actually reveals. There is a point of diminishing returns with deep sleep. Your brain does not have an unlimited capacity to benefit from deep sleep. There is an optimal amount of deep sleep for your individual needs, and beyond that amount, additional deep sleep does not provide additional benefits. In fact, it might actually be counterproductive. One of the reasons this is true relates to the architecture of sleep itself. Your sleep cycles through different stages throughout the night. Early in the night, you tend to have more deep sleep. Later in the night, you tend to have more REM sleep. This distribution is not accidental. It serves a purpose. The early night deep sleep handles the physical restoration and waste clearance. The late night REM sleep handles the emotional processing and memory consolidation. Both are necessary. Both contribute to your overall well-being in different ways. If you artificially extend your sleep duration simply to increase your deep sleep percentage, you might end up with more REM sleep than your brain actually needs. Or you might disrupt the natural timing of these sleep stages. The result can be a kind of sleep imbalance. You have plenty of deep sleep, but your REM sleep is excessive or poorly timed. You might wake up feeling groggy or emotionally dysregulated. You might have vivid, intense dreams that leave you feeling unsettled. The pursuit of maximum deep sleep has backfired. There is also the question of measurement accuracy. The devices and apps that measure deep sleep are not perfectly accurate. They use various algorithms to estimate the percentage of sleep spent in different stages based on heart rate variability, movement, and other indirect measures. These estimates can be quite far from what would be measured by a clinical sleep study using actual brainwave monitoring. You might believe you are getting 20% deep sleep when you are actually getting 15%, or vice versa. The number on your app might be creating an illusion of knowledge that is not actually grounded in precise measurement. This is why becoming obsessed with a specific deep sleep percentage based on wearable data can be misleading. More importantly, deep sleep percentage is not the best measure of sleep quality or the best predictor of how you will feel. Someone with 45% deep sleep who wakes feeling refreshed and energized has higher sleep quality than someone with 60% deep sleep who wakes feeling groggy and unrefreshed. The percentage is less important than how you actually feel. The number on your app is less important than your lived experience of rest. What actually matters more than deep sleep percentage is whether you are getting enough deep sleep to support your physical recovery and immune function. For most adults, this means somewhere in the range of 1 to 2 hours of deep sleep per night, or roughly 15 to 20% of total sleep time. Some people might genuinely need slightly more, others might need slightly less, but for most people, anything within this range is adequate. The difference between 20% deep sleep and 30% deep sleep is unlikely to be noticeable in your daily functioning. The difference between 5% deep sleep and 20% deep sleep would be quite noticeable. You would likely feel physically unrested, your immune system would be compromised, and your body would not be recovering well from the stresses of daily life. The obsession with deep sleep percentage also reflects a misunderstanding of what makes sleep restorative. Sleep restoration is not determined by a single variable. It is determined by the overall quality of the sleep experience, the consistency of your sleep schedule, the adequacy of your total sleep duration, the alignment of your sleep timing with your circadian rhythm, and countless other factors. Optimizing only for deep sleep percentage while ignoring these other factors is like trying to improve your health by optimizing only for a single nutrient while ignoring everything else you eat. It misses the bigger picture. Furthermore, there are legitimate reasons why some people naturally have lower deep sleep percentages. Older adults tend to have less deep sleep than younger adults. This is not a sign of poor sleep quality or a problem to be fixed. It is simply how aging brains sleep. Certain medications can reduce deep sleep. Certain mental health conditions can reduce deep sleep. Stress can reduce deep sleep. In these cases, the goal should not necessarily be to artificially increase deep sleep percentage, but rather to address the underlying cause if possible, and to recognize that the sleep architecture you have is appropriate given your current circumstances. The deeper misconception here is that sleep quality can be reduced to a single number. Sleep is a complex phenomenon. It involves multiple stages, each serving different functions. It involves your nervous system, your hormonal system, your immune system, and your brain. It is influenced by your genetics, your age, your lifestyle, your environment, and your mental state. Reducing all of this complexity to a single metric whether it is deep sleep percentage or total sleep duration, inevitably loses important information. The best approach is to think of sleep holistically. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you sleeping at times that align with your circadian rhythm? Do you feel rested when you wake? Are your cognitive and emotional functions adequate during the day? These are the questions that matter. If the answer to all of them is yes, then your sleep is likely good, regardless of what percentage of it is deep sleep. REM sleep and dreams, the misunderstood guardian of your memory. When we think of sleep, we often think of rest, of stillness, of the mind shutting down and the body recovering. Yet there is a stage of sleep where the opposite is true. During REM sleep, your brain is nearly as active as it is when you are awake. Your eyes dart rapidly beneath closed eyelids. Your heart rate increases, your body temperature rises, your blood pressure elevates. If someone were to measure your brainwave activity, they would see patterns that look remarkably similar to wakefulness. And yet you are asleep, profoundly asleep. Your muscles paralyzed, your consciousness turned inward toward the vivid, often bizarre experiences we call dreams. This is one of the most fascinating stages of sleep, and it is also one of the most misunderstood. REM stands for rapid eye movement, and it is named for the distinctive eye movements that characterize this sleep stage. But the rapid eye movements are not the most important feature of REM sleep. The most important feature is what is happening inside your brain. During REM sleep, your brain is engaged in a process called memory consolidation, specifically the consolidation of emotional memories and procedural memories. If you learned something emotionally significant today, something that made you feel joy or fear or sadness, your brain processes that memory during REM sleep. If you practiced a new skill, learned new information, or had a significant social interaction, your brain integrates those experiences during REM sleep, weaving them into the fabric of your existing knowledge and memories. There is a common myth that dreams are meaningless, that they are just random neural noise, the brain firing randomly as you sleep. This myth is not entirely without basis. Some aspects of dreams do involve random neural activation, but the overall pattern is far more organized and purposeful than this myth suggests. Your dreams are not random. They are the subjective experience of your brain engaging in memory consolidation and emotional processing. The bizarre, surreal quality of dreams is not a sign of meaninglessness. It is a sign that your brain is working with memories and emotions in ways that are fundamentally different from how it works during wakefulness. Here is what makes REM sleep particularly important for emotional well-being. During wakefulness, when you experience something emotionally charged, your amygdala, the brain region associated with emotion, becomes highly active. Your prefrontal cortex, the brain region associated with rational thought and emotional regulation, also becomes active. These two regions work together to help you respond appropriately to the emotional situation. But during REM sleep, something shifts. Your amygdala remains active, processing emotional information. Your prefrontal cortex, however, becomes relatively quiet. This shift allows your brain to process emotional memories without the rational, analytical overlay of conscious thought. Your brain can simply experience the emotion, integrate it, and file it away. This process is crucial for emotional resilience. When you experience trauma or significant emotional stress, your brain needs to process that experience. If you do not get adequate REM sleep, this processing cannot occur effectively. The emotional memory remains raw, unprocessed, potentially more distressing. This is why people who are severely sleep-deprived often report mood disturbances. It is not just that they are tired, it is that their brain has not had adequate opportunity to process emotional experiences. This is also why many people find that their emotional resilience improves when they prioritize sleep. They are giving their brain the time it needs to process emotional experiences and integrate them into their broader emotional life. There is another crucial function of REM sleep that is often overlooked. During REM sleep, your brain is consolidating procedural memories, the memories of how to do things. If you spent today learning a new dance move, or practicing a new language, or developing a new skill, your brain strengthens the neural connections associated with that skill during REM sleep. This is why sleep is so important for learning. It is not just that your brain is resting, it is that your brain is actively consolidating and strengthening the memories of what you learned. Someone who stays up all night cramming for an exam might retain some information through sheer effort, but they will not retain it as effectively as someone who learns the material and then gets adequate sleep. The sleep is not optional. It is part of the learning process itself. Now, there is a particular myth about REM sleep that has become increasingly common in the age of sleep tracking. This is the myth that you need a certain percentage of REM sleep, and that if your REM percentage is low, something is wrong. People check their sleep apps, see that they had only 18% REM sleep when they thought they should have 22%, and they become concerned. They wonder if something is wrong with their brain. They try various strategies to increase their REM sleep percentage, yet this approach, again, misses the broader picture. REM sleep percentage naturally varies from night to night and from person to person. It is influenced by age, stress levels, caffeine intake, alcohol use, and many other factors. Some of this variation is normal and healthy. A night when you get slightly less REM sleep and slightly more deep sleep is not a night of poor sleep. It is simply a different balance of the different sleep stages. Your brain is still doing important work. The work is just distributed differently across the night. There is also the issue of measurement accuracy. The devices that measure REM sleep are estimating based on indirect measures. They might look at heart rate variability or movement patterns or other signals that correlate with REM sleep. But these correlations are not perfect. The percentage of REM sleep reported by your wearable device might be off by several percentage points. This means that obsessing over a precise REM percentage based on wearable data is based on information that might not be accurate. More fundamentally, REM sleep is not something you can easily manipulate. You cannot simply decide to have more REM sleep and then achieve that goal through willpower or behavioral change. Your brain produces REM sleep according to its own needs and according to the conditions present. If you are well rested, relatively stress-free, and sleeping consistently, your brain will produce the amount of REM sleep it needs. If you are sleep-deprived, highly stressed, or sleeping irregularly, your brain might produce less REM sleep than it needs. In that case, the solution is not to specifically target REM sleep. The solution is to address the underlying issue. Get more sleep, reduce stress, establish consistency. What you should actually pay attention to is how you feel. Are you able to learn new things effectively? Are you emotionally resilient? Can you process difficult emotions without becoming overwhelmed? Can you wake from your dreams and remember them, or at least have a sense that you have been dreaming? These are signs that your REM sleep is adequate. If you are having trouble learning, if you are emotionally fragile, if you have no sense of dreaming at all, these might be signs that your REM sleep is insufficient. But in that case, the solution is to get more sleep overall, not to specifically increase your REM percentage. The beauty of REM sleep is that it serves such important functions that your brain has evolved to protect it. If you are sleep deprived, your brain will prioritize REM sleep. You will rebound into REM sleep, spending a higher percentage of your sleep in this stage until you have caught up on the REM sleep you have missed. This is called REM rebound. It is a sign that your brain is working to recover from sleep deprivation. The dreams you have during REM rebound might be more vivid and memorable than usual. You might wake in the night remembering dreams. This is normal. It is your brain's way of making up for lost REM sleep. Over time, as you return to consistent, adequate sleep, your REM percentage will normalize. You do not need to do anything special to make this happen. Your brain handles it automatically. Sleep positions and spinal myths. What research really shows about how you lie down? There is a particular kind of advice that has become almost universal in discussions of sleep health. Sleep on your back, or sleep on your side, or avoid sleeping on your stomach. This advice is given with such confidence, such certainty, that it feels like established scientific fact. And yet, when we look at the actual research on sleep positions, what we find is far more nuanced and far less prescriptive than this common wisdom suggests. Let us start with what is true. Your sleep position does influence your physiology. Different positions affect your spine, your breathing, your circulation, and your internal organs in different ways. A person sleeping on their back is in a different physical configuration than a person sleeping on their side or on their stomach. These differences are real and measurable, but the key question is whether one position is objectively superior to all others. And the answer, according to the research, is no. Or perhaps more precisely, the answer is that it depends on your individual circumstances. The most commonly recommended position is sleeping on your back. The reasoning behind this recommendation is that back sleeping allows your spine to maintain its natural alignment. Your head is supported by your pillow. Your spine is relatively straight. Your shoulders and hips are aligned. From a purely biomechanical perspective, this seems ideal. Yet here is where the complications begin. Not everyone can sleep well on their back. Some people find it uncomfortable. Some people experience lower back pain when sleeping on their back. Some people find that sleeping on their back exacerbates their snoring or sleep apnea. Some people simply cannot fall asleep in this position because it does not feel natural to them. The research on back sleeping is interesting. Studies have shown that people who sleep on their back do tend to have better spinal alignment compared to people who sleep on their stomach. But they also tend to have more snoring and more sleep apnea. This is because back sleeping allows the soft tissues in your throat to collapse more easily, restricting your airway. For someone without sleep apnea, this might not be a problem. For someone with sleep apnea, back sleeping can actually worsen the condition significantly, so recommending back sleeping to everyone without knowing their individual circumstances is potentially giving harmful advice to a subset of the population. Side sleeping is also commonly recommended. The reasoning here is similar. Side sleeping is supposed to maintain spinal alignment while avoiding the airway obstruction issues of back sleeping. And indeed, many people do sleep very well on their side. The research suggests that side sleeping is generally good for spinal alignment and tends to reduce snoring and sleep apnea compared to back sleeping. However, side sleeping has its own set of considerations. If you sleep on your side night after night, always on the same side, you might develop pressure points. Your shoulder, your hip, your lower leg might experience pressure from your body weight being concentrated on a smaller surface area. Over time, this can lead to pain or discomfort. Additionally, some people find that side sleeping restricts their breathing or creates a sense of physical constriction that makes it harder to sleep well. Stomach sleeping is generally discouraged by sleep experts. The reasoning is that stomach sleeping requires you to turn your head significantly to breathe, which can strain your neck. Additionally, stomach sleeping can create tension in your lower back. However, some people sleep very well on their stomach. Some people find that stomach sleeping is the only position in which they can breathe comfortably, particularly if they have nasal congestion or breathing issues. For these people, stomach sleeping might actually be the best position, despite the general recommendation against it. Here is what the research actually shows. When people are allowed to sleep in their natural preferred position, they sleep better, they sleep longer, they wake less frequently. The quality of their sleep is higher. This is true regardless of what position they prefer. A person who naturally sleeps on their stomach and is forced to sleep on their back will have worse sleep than if they are allowed to sleep on their stomach. Similarly, a person who naturally sleeps on their back and is forced to sleep on their side will have worse sleep. Your preferred sleep position is not arbitrary. It is the position in which your body and brain have evolved to sleep well. There is likely some combination of comfort, breathing ease, and nervous system regulation that makes your preferred position optimal for you specifically. The spinal alignment argument, while not entirely wrong, is also more complicated than it initially appears. Yes, certain positions maintain better spinal alignment than others, but spinal alignment during sleep is only one factor influencing spinal health. Your overall posture during waking hours matters more. Your exercise habits matter. Your core strength matters. Your work ergonomics matter. Someone who has perfect spinal alignment while sleeping, but spends 8 hours a day slouching at a desk, has worse spinal health than someone who sleeps in a position that is not perfectly aligned, but maintains excellent posture during the day. Trying to optimize your spinal alignment purely through sleep position, while ignoring all the other factors that influence spinal health, is a misguided approach. Additionally, the quality of your sleep position matters as much as the position itself. If you are sleeping on your back with a pillow that is too high, your head is flexed forward, creating strain on your neck. If you are sleeping on your side with a pillow that is too low, your head is tilted again creating strain. If you are sleeping on your back with proper support for your neck and knees, your spine is well aligned and comfortable. The position alone does not determine spinal health. The setup, the pillows, the mattress firmness, all of these matter. Two people sleeping in the same position can have very different spinal experiences depending on their setup. The most important consideration regarding sleep position is this: if your current position is comfortable, if you are sleeping well, if you are waking without pain or discomfort, then your position is fine. Do not change it, because you read somewhere that another position is supposedly better. If your current position is causing you discomfort, if you are waking with neck pain or back pain, then it might be worth experimenting with other positions. But the goal should be to find the position that is comfortable for you, not to conform to some universal standard of what is supposedly correct. If you do want to experiment with different positions, do so gradually. Do not try to completely change your sleep position overnight. Instead, spend a few nights consciously trying a new position. See how it feels, give your body time to adjust. Some positions that feel uncomfortable at first might become comfortable after a few nights. But if after a week of trying a new position you still do not like it, return to your preferred position. Your body is telling you something. Listen to it. The bottom line is this: the ideal sleep position is the position in which you sleep best. That position will be different for different people. It will be influenced by your body shape, your breathing patterns, your pain history, your personal comfort preferences. The research does not show that one position is universally superior. It shows that comfort and sleep quality matter more than conforming to an arbitrary standard. Honor your body's preferences. Sleep in the position that allows you to sleep deeply and wake refreshed. That is the real measure of a good sleep position. The caffeine half-life truth. Why that afternoon coffee affects you more than you know. There is a particular moment that occurs for many people in the afternoon. Around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, energy begins to flag. The mind becomes less sharp. The body feels heavier. The eyelids become slightly harder to keep open. This is the circadian dip, a natural decrease in alertness that occurs in the afternoon. It is not a sign of poor sleep the night before. It is not a sign of laziness or lack of discipline. It is a normal biological rhythm that affects most humans. In response to this dip, millions of people reach for a source of caffeine, a cup of coffee, an energy drink, a cola, something to boost their alertness and carry them through the rest of the day. This is where one of the most pervasive myths about caffeine comes into play. The myth is this: caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours, which means that if you drink a cup of coffee at 3 in the afternoon, half of the caffeine will be out of your system by 8 or 9 at night, and you should be fine to sleep at 11. The logic seems sound. Half gone by 9, 3/4 gone by the time you go to bed. Surely this will not affect your sleep significantly. Yet the research on caffeine and sleep tells a very different story. Let us first understand what caffeine actually does. Caffeine is an adenosine antagonist. Adenosine is a neurotransmitter that accumulates throughout your waking hours. As adenosine accumulates, it binds to adenosine receptors in your brain, creating a sense of sleepiness. This is called sleep pressure. It builds throughout the day, and by evening it is strong enough that you feel genuinely tired. Sleep pressure is one of the most important drivers of sleep. Without adequate sleep pressure, it is difficult to fall asleep and to sleep deeply. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors. When you drink coffee, the caffeine molecules bind to those receptors, preventing adenosine from binding. The result is that you no longer feel the sleepiness that adenosine was creating. Your alertness increases, your energy improves, you feel more capable of continuing your activities. This effect is powerful and noticeable. But here is the key point: caffeine does not eliminate adenosine. It does not remove it from your brain. It simply blocks your brain's ability to sense it. The adenosine is still there, accumulating, building up. When the caffeine wears off, the adenosine is suddenly available to bind to its receptors again, and you feel a rebound of sleepiness. This is why people often experience an afternoon crash if they drink caffeine in the morning, and then do not drink more caffeine in the afternoon. Now, here is where the half-life myth becomes problematic. Yes, The half-life of caffeine is approximately 5 to 6 hours for most adults. This means that after 5 to 6 hours, half of the caffeine you consumed is metabolized and no longer in your body, but the other half is still there, and this remaining half is still affecting your brain. After 10 to 12 hours, 3/4 of the caffeine is gone, but 1/4 remains. After 15 to 18 hours, only a small amount remains, but it is still there, still blocking adenosine receptors, still affecting your ability to sleep. Let us consider a concrete example. You drink a cup of coffee at 3 in the afternoon. This cup contains approximately 100 to 200 milligrams of caffeine, depending on the type of coffee and how strong it is brewed. By 8 in the evening, half of this caffeine, so 50 to 100 milligrams, is still in your system. By 11 at night, when you go to bed, there is still approximately 25 to 50 milligrams of caffeine in your brain, still blocking adenosine receptors, still reducing your sleep pressure. This amount might not be enough to keep you completely awake. You might still be able to fall asleep, but your sleep pressure is reduced. Your sleep might be lighter. You might wake more frequently during the night. Your sleep architecture might be disrupted. You might wake in the morning feeling less rested than you would have if you had not consumed that afternoon coffee. The research on this is quite clear. Studies examining the effects of caffeine on sleep have shown that caffeine consumed up to 6 hours before bedtime can significantly disrupt sleep. Even more remarkably, some studies have found that caffeine consumed up to 10 hours before bedtime can still have measurable negative effects on sleep. The amount of disruption is dose-dependent. Someone who drinks a large cup of coffee at 3 in the afternoon will experience more sleep disruption than someone who drinks a small cup. But the disruption exists across a wide range of doses and timing. What makes this even more complicated is that caffeine sensitivity varies significantly between individuals. Some people metabolize caffeine quickly. Their half-life might be closer to 3 or 4 hours. Others metabolize it much more slowly. Their half-life might be closer to 7 or 8 hours. This variation is determined by genetics, particularly variations in the genes that code for the enzymes responsible for metabolizing caffeine. It is also influenced by other factors. Pregnancy slows caffeine metabolism significantly. Certain medications slow caffeine metabolism. Smoking accelerates caffeine metabolism. If you are a slow caffeine metabolizer, that 3 o'clock coffee is still in your system at midnight, significantly impairing your sleep. If you are a fast caffeine metabolizer, you might be able to tolerate afternoon caffeine more easily. There is also the issue of caffeine accumulation. If you drink coffee in the morning, and then again in the afternoon, and then perhaps a cola in the evening, the caffeine is accumulating in your system. Each dose adds to the amount that is already present. By the time you go to bed, you might have 300 or 400 milligrams of caffeine in your system from multiple sources throughout the day. This is significantly more than a single cup of coffee, and it will have much more profound effects on your sleep. The timing of caffeine consumption is also important. Caffeine consumed in the morning, before your circadian rhythm has shifted toward wakefulness, is less disruptive than caffeine consumed in the afternoon, when your circadian rhythm is naturally beginning to shift towards sleep. This is because your circadian rhythm influences your sensitivity to caffeine. In the morning, when your cortisol levels are naturally high and your alertness is naturally increasing, additional caffeine from coffee is less noticeable. In the afternoon and evening, when your cortisol is declining and your circadian rhythm is naturally shifting towards sleep, caffeine is much more noticeable and much more disruptive. The practical implication of this research is clear. If you want to sleep well, you should limit your caffeine intake to the morning hours. A cup of coffee when you first wake up is unlikely to significantly disrupt your sleep that night, even though some caffeine will still be present. But a cup of coffee at 3 in the afternoon is likely to disrupt your sleep, even if you do not consciously feel the caffeine's effects. If you find that your sleep is not as good as you would like, and you are consuming caffeine in the afternoon or evening, eliminating this caffeine is one of the most effective changes you can make. You might be surprised at how much your sleep improves when you stop consuming caffeine after noon. Alcohol is a sleep aid, the deceptive comfort of a nightcap. There is a ritual that has persisted for centuries across many cultures. As evening approaches, as the day winds down, people reach for a drink. A glass of wine, a beer, a whiskey. The warmth of the alcohol spreads through the body. A sense of relaxation emerges. The stresses of the day begin to fade. The mind quiets. And as this relaxation deepens, sleep often comes more easily. This is the experience that has led to the widespread belief that alcohol helps sleep. A nightcap before bed, the thinking goes, helps you fall asleep faster and sleep more deeply. This belief is so widespread that many people use alcohol specifically as a sleep aid. Yet what the science of sleep tells us about alcohol and sleep is quite different from this popular perception. The first part of the popular belief is actually true. Alcohol does help you fall asleep faster. When you drink alcohol in the evening, it has a sedating effect. Your brain activity slows, your muscles relax, your inhibitions decrease, and your mind quiets. The transition to sleep becomes easier. You fall asleep more quickly than you would have without the alcohol. This immediate effect is real and noticeable, but this is where the alignment between perception and reality ends. What alcohol actually does to your sleep architecture is profoundly disruptive. This is where the science becomes clear and the myth becomes obvious. Alcohol, particularly when consumed in significant amounts in the evening, suppresses REM sleep. Remember that REM sleep is when your brain consolidates emotional memories, processes emotional experiences, and integrates new learning. It is when your brain does crucial emotional work. Alcohol dramatically reduces the amount of REM sleep you experience. Someone who drinks a glass or two of wine before bed might have significantly less REM sleep than someone who goes to bed sober. The total sleep duration might be similar. The person might sleep through the night, but the architecture of that sleep is fundamentally altered. Additionally, alcohol disrupts your sleep continuity. While you might fall asleep more quickly, you are more likely to wake during the night. Alcohol impairs your brain's ability to maintain sleep. You might not consciously remember these awakenings. You might sleep through the night without remembering waking, but your sleep is fragmented. Your brain is cycling through multiple micro-awakenings. This fragmentation, even if you do not consciously experience it, reduces sleep quality. You wake in the morning feeling less rested than you would have without the alcohol. Alcohol also disrupts your sleep-wake cycle by interfering with your circadian rhythm. It affects the timing of melatonin production. It influences your body temperature regulation. These disruptions can persist even after the alcohol has been metabolized. Someone who drinks alcohol in the evening might experience circadian disruption that affects their sleep for several nights afterward. There is also the issue of tolerance. If you regularly use alcohol as a sleep aid, your brain adapts. The sedating effect of alcohol decreases. You need more alcohol to achieve the same sleep-inducing effect. Over time, you can develop a dependence on alcohol for sleep. Without it, you cannot fall asleep. But with it, you are experiencing the sleep disruption we have described. You are trapped in a cycle where you need alcohol to fall asleep. But the alcohol is preventing you from sleeping well. Your sleep quality gradually deteriorates. Your daytime functioning suffers. Yet the belief that alcohol helps sleep is so strong that you might not connect your poor sleep to the very thing you are using to try to improve it. The research on this is extensive and consistent. Studies comparing sleep after alcohol consumption with sleep without alcohol have found that alcohol reduces REM sleep, increases sleep fragmentation, reduces overall sleep quality, and impairs next-day functioning. Even small amounts of alcohol have measurable effects. A single glass of wine in the evening can reduce REM sleep by 10 to 30%. The effects are dose-dependent, with larger amounts of alcohol producing more dramatic disruptions. But even moderate amounts of alcohol have negative effects on sleep quality. There is a particular irony here. People use alcohol to help them sleep because they are anxious or stressed. Alcohol provides temporary relief from these feelings, but the sleep disruption caused by alcohol, particularly the suppression of REM sleep, actually makes anxiety and stress worse. REM sleep is crucial for emotional processing and emotional resilience. By suppressing REM sleep with alcohol, you are actually making the underlying anxiety or stress worse. You might fall asleep more easily, but you are waking less rested, less emotionally resilient, and more vulnerable to stress. The alcohol is making the problem worse, not better. What makes this even more complex is that alcohol affects sleep architecture in a dose-dependent manner. A small amount of alcohol, perhaps a single drink, might have relatively minor effects on sleep. A moderate amount, perhaps 2 drinks, will have more significant effects. But here is the interesting part. The sedating effect of alcohol is most pronounced after small to moderate amounts. Large amounts of alcohol can actually make it harder to fall asleep initially, even though the sleep disruption is more severe. This creates a kind of sweet spot, a dose at which alcohol maximally helps you fall asleep, while still producing significant sleep disruption. Many people find this dose and stick with it, unaware that they are experiencing sleep disruption. The metabolism of alcohol also matters. When you drink alcohol, your body prioritizes metabolizing it. Your liver works hard to break down the alcohol and eliminate it from your body. This metabolic process requires energy and generates byproducts. While your body is focused on metabolizing alcohol, other sleep-related processes are disrupted. Your body cannot focus on the restorative processes that should be happening during sleep. Instead, it is focused on eliminating a toxin. This is not compatible with sleep restoration. For people struggling with sleep, the research is clear. Alcohol is not an effective sleep aid. Yes, it might help you fall asleep faster, but the sleep you get after drinking alcohol is lower quality, more fragmented, and less restorative than sleep without alcohol. If you are using alcohol to help you sleep, the most effective change you can make is to stop. This might be difficult initially. You might experience rebound insomnia for a few nights. Your brain has adapted to the presence of alcohol. When it is suddenly absent, sleep might be harder to achieve. But after a week or 2, your sleep architecture will begin to normalize. Your REM sleep will return. Your sleep continuity will improve. You will wake feeling more rested. The temporary difficulty of stopping alcohol is worth the long-term improvement in sleep quality. Screens and the blue light narrative, separating fact from digital fear. In recent years, a particular narrative has emerged around screens and sleep. The story goes like this. Blue light from screens suppresses melatonin production. Melatonin is the hormone that promotes sleep. Therefore, using screens in the evening suppresses melatonin and makes it harder to sleep. The solution is simple. Avoid screens for at least an hour before bed. Put your phone away, turn off your computer, dim your lights. Protect your melatonin production. This narrative is so widespread that it has become almost universally accepted as truth. Yet when we examine the actual research on blue light and melatonin, what we find is a more nuanced picture than this simple story suggests. The first part of the narrative is true. Blue light does suppress melatonin production. This is a real physiological effect that has been demonstrated in multiple studies. When your eyes are exposed to blue light, particularly in the evening, it sends a signal to your suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock in your brain. This signal essentially says it is daytime. Suppress melatonin, stay alert. This effect is real and measurable. But here is where the story becomes more complicated. The amount of blue light exposure that significantly suppresses melatonin is substantial. The blue light from a phone or computer screen is not as potent as natural daylight or bright artificial light. The suppression effect exists, but it is relatively modest. Research examining the actual effects of screen exposure on melatonin has found that using screens in the evening does suppress melatonin production, but the suppression is not dramatic. Someone who uses a phone or computer for an hour before bed will have somewhat less melatonin than someone who avoids screens entirely. But the difference might be 10 to 20%, not 50 or 70%. For some people, this modest suppression is enough to noticeably impact sleep. For others, it has minimal effect. The impact depends on your individual sensitivity to light, your circadian rhythm, and your overall sleep pressure. What complicates this further is that the research on screens and sleep often conflates blue light with the psychological effects of screen use. When you use a phone or computer, you are not just exposing yourself to blue light, you are also engaging your mind. You might be reading stimulating content. You might be responding to messages. You might be thinking about work or social situations. All of this mental engagement is stimulating your nervous system. Your brain is being activated. Your thoughts are becoming more linear and organized. This is the opposite of the mental state you want as you approach sleep. So when studies show that screen use before bed is associated with worse sleep, it is not clear whether this is due to the blue light, the mental stimulation, or both. There is also the question of what counts as a screen. The blue light from an e-reader is different from the blue light from a smartphone. The blue light from a computer monitor is different from the blue light from a television. The amount of blue light varies significantly. Additionally, many devices now have settings that reduce blue light in the evening. These settings shift the color temperature of the screen toward warmer tones, reducing blue light exposure. Research on these blue light filters has shown that they do reduce melatonin suppression. Whether this reduction is enough to meaningfully improve sleep is less clear. The practical implication of the blue light research is this: blue light from screens does have some effect on melatonin production, but the effect is modest. For most people, it is probably not the primary factor affecting their sleep. If you are sleeping well, using screens in the evening is unlikely to significantly disrupt your sleep. If you're having trouble sleeping, blue light from screens might be a contributing factor, but it is probably not the main factor. Other things, like sleep schedule consistency, caffeine intake, stress levels, and circadian rhythm alignment, probably matter more. However, there is a good reason to limit screen use before bed anyway, even if it is not primarily about blue light. The psychological stimulation of screens is real. If you are using your phone to scroll through social media, or checking work emails, or engaging in any mentally stimulating activity, you are keeping your mind active and your nervous system engaged. This is incompatible with the mental state needed for sleep. Your mind needs to quiet. Your nervous system needs to shift toward parasympathetic activation, the rest and digest state. Screen use, particularly if it is psychologically stimulating, works against this shift. Additionally, the light from screens, regardless of its color, is brighter than the dim light your brain expects in the evening. Darkness is one of the most important signals to your brain that it is time to sleep. When your environment is brightly lit, your brain receives the message that it is daytime, even if you are looking at a screen in the evening. This brightness signal, independent of the specific color of the light, can interfere with sleep onset. So the practical recommendation is this: avoid screens for a period before bed, not necessarily because of blue light specifically, but because of the combination of blue light exposure, the brightness of the screen, and the psychological stimulation of screen use. How long before bed you should avoid screens depends on your individual sensitivity. Some people can use screens until bedtime and sleep fine. Others need to avoid screens for an hour or more. Pay attention to your own experience. If you use screens in the evening and sleep well, you probably do not need to change this behavior. If you use screens in the evening and struggle to sleep, try avoiding screens for 30 minutes to an hour before bed and see if your sleep improves. If you do use screens in the evening, using a blue light filter or warm-toned display settings is probably helpful, even if the benefit is modest. It will not solve sleep problems that are caused by other factors, but it might reduce one source of melatonin suppression. Additionally, being intentional about what you use screens for in the evening matters. If you are using screens to do something relaxing, like reading, the effect on your sleep might be minimal. If you are using screens to do something stimulating, like work or social media, the effect on your sleep might be more significant. The broader point here is that the blue light narrative, while not entirely wrong, has become overemphasized. It has become a kind of scapegoat for sleep problems that have many other causes. People focus on blue light and forget about their inconsistent sleep schedule, their afternoon caffeine, their high stress levels, their circadian rhythm misalignment. They buy blue light glasses or blue light filters, hoping this will solve their sleep problems. But if the real issues are elsewhere, the blue light glasses will not help. The key is to recognize that blue light is one of many factors that influence sleep, and it is probably not the most important one for most people. Address the bigger factors first. If sleep is still problematic, then consider blue light reduction as an additional strategy. Temperature, darkness, and the forgotten variable: what actually matters in your bedroom. When people think about optimizing their sleep environment, they often focus on one or two factors: the temperature, the darkness. These are the variables that have received the most attention in popular sleep advice. Keep your room cool between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. keep your room completely dark. These recommendations are not wrong, but they are incomplete. They focus on factors that are relatively easy to measure and adjust, while neglecting other variables that might be equally or even more important. Let us start with what is true about temperature and darkness. Your body temperature naturally decreases as you prepare for sleep. This decrease in body temperature is a signal to your brain that it is time to sleep. A cool room facilitates this natural temperature decrease. When your room is cool, your body can more easily shed heat and lower its core temperature. This facilitates sleep onset and sleep maintenance. Similarly, darkness triggers melatonin production. Darkness is a powerful signal that it is nighttime, that your brain should produce melatonin, that your body should prepare for sleep. A dark room facilitates melatonin production and sleep onset. The research on these factors is clear. People sleep better in cool, dark rooms than in warm, bright rooms. This is consistent across studies and across populations. So the common recommendations about temperature and darkness are based on solid science. The problem is that these recommendations have become the focus of sleep optimization, while other variables that might be equally important are neglected. One such variable is noise. Your brain is designed to detect sounds, particularly sounds that might indicate danger. Even during sleep, your brain is listening. If your environment is noisy, your brain remains partially vigilant, more easily aroused, more likely to wake. The quality of your sleep in a noisy environment is lower than it would be in a quiet environment. Yet noise is less often discussed than temperature or darkness in popular sleep advice. Perhaps because addressing noise is more difficult. You cannot simply adjust a thermostat. You might need to invest in soundproofing, or use white noise, or move to a quieter neighborhood. The difficulty of the solution means that noise is often overlooked, even though it might be significantly affecting your sleep. Another variable is air quality. Your bedroom needs oxygen. Your brain in particular requires a constant supply of oxygen. If your bedroom is poorly ventilated, if carbon dioxide is accumulating, your brain is not getting the oxygen it needs. This can result in restless sleep, frequent waking, and a sense of not being fully rested. Additionally, if your bedroom has accumulated dust, pet dander, or other allergens, you might be experiencing mild allergic reactions while you sleep. These reactions can disrupt sleep without you being fully aware of them. You might wake with nasal congestion or a scratchy throat, not realizing that the air quality in your bedroom is the culprit. Ensuring that your bedroom has adequate ventilation and that the air is clean is important for sleep quality, but it is less often discussed than temperature. The humidity level in your bedroom also matters. If the air is too dry, your mucous membranes become irritated. Your nose becomes congested. Your throat becomes dry. You might wake with a sore throat or difficulty breathing. If the air is too humid, mold and dust mites thrive. Mold spores and dust mite waste can trigger allergic reactions and respiratory issues. The ideal humidity level is somewhere in the middle, typically around 40 to 50%. Maintaining this humidity level, through the use of a humidifier or dehumidifier if necessary, can improve sleep quality. Yet humidity is even less often discussed than noise or air quality. There is also the variable of light quality, which is different from light quantity. Complete darkness is good for sleep, but the type of light you are exposed to during the day matters. Natural daylight, particularly bright morning sunlight, is important for regulating your circadian rhythm. If you spend all day indoors under artificial lighting, your circadian rhythm does not receive the light signals it needs. This can lead to circadian misalignment and sleep problems. Getting bright light exposure in the morning, particularly from natural sunlight, is one of the most powerful ways to regulate your circadian rhythm and improve your sleep. Yet this is often overlooked in discussions of sleep optimization that focus on bedroom environment. The surface you sleep on also matters. Your mattress and pillow need to provide adequate support and comfort. A mattress that is too firm can create pressure points and discomfort. A mattress that is too soft does not provide adequate support. The ideal firmness depends on your body weight, your sleep position, and your personal preferences. Similarly, your pillow needs to support your head and neck in a position that allows your spine to remain aligned. A pillow that is too high or too low can create neck strain and discomfort. Yet the mattress and pillow are often taken for granted. People might spend years sleeping on a mattress or pillow that is not ideal for them, never realizing that this might be affecting their sleep quality. Another often overlooked variable is the electromagnetic environment of your bedroom. Your bedroom likely contains various electronic devices, a phone on your nightstand, an alarm clock, perhaps a computer or television. These devices emit electromagnetic fields. Some people report that they sleep better when they are not surrounded by these fields. The research on whether electromagnetic fields actually affect sleep is mixed. Some studies suggest they have no effect. Others suggest they might have subtle effects on sleep quality. If you notice that you sleep better when your phone is in another room, or when you turn off your Wi-Fi at night, then this might be a factor for you. But it is probably not a major factor for most people. The most important insight here is this: your sleep environment is multifaceted. Temperature and darkness matter, but they are not the only things that matter. Noise, air quality, humidity, light exposure during the day, your mattress and pillow, all of these influence your sleep. If you are optimizing your sleep environment, do not focus exclusively on temperature and darkness. Take a step back and look at the whole environment. Is it quiet? Is the air clean and well ventilated? Is the humidity adequate? Is your mattress and pillow comfortable? Are you getting adequate bright light exposure during the day? Are there electronic devices creating unwanted stimulation? Addressing all of these variables, not just temperature and darkness, will create an environment that is truly optimized for sleep. The snoring stigma. When your sleep sound signals something deeper. Snoring occupies a peculiar place in our cultural consciousness. It is the subject of jokes. It is portrayed as a minor annoyance, something to be tolerated or laughed at. A partner snores, and the other partner buys earplugs or moves to another room. The snorer is viewed as someone with a quirky habit, not someone with a potential health issue. Yet the science of sleep tells a very different story. Snoring is not a minor annoyance. It is a signal that something is happening in your airway, something that warrants attention and investigation. Snoring occurs when the soft tissues in your throat partially collapse during sleep, causing the air passing through to vibrate against these tissues. The vibration creates the sound we recognize as snoring. The fact that these tissues are collapsing, even partially, indicates that your airway is narrowing. Your brain is still receiving adequate oxygen, but you are working harder to breathe. Your sleep is being disrupted, even if you are not consciously aware of it. The arousal from the breathing difficulty might be brief, lasting only a few seconds. You might not remember it, but it is happening repeatedly throughout the night. This is where snoring becomes medically significant. Snoring is often associated with sleep apnea, a condition in which your breathing actually stops briefly during sleep. The cessation of breathing causes oxygen levels in your blood to drop. Your brain detects this drop and arouses you, causing you to gasp for breath. These apneas can occur dozens of times per hour. Each one causes a brief arousal. Each one causes a temporary drop in oxygen. Over time, this repetitive stress on your cardiovascular system can have serious consequences. Sleep apnea is associated with increased risk of heart attack, stroke, high blood pressure, and irregular heartbeat. It is also associated with daytime sleepiness, cognitive impairment, and mood disorders. Not everyone who snores has sleep apnea. Some people snore without experiencing apneas. Their airway narrows enough to create snoring, but not enough to stop breathing. For these people, the snoring itself is the issue, not the apnea. But the presence of snoring indicates that something is happening in the airway, and it is worth investigating. The stigma around snoring often prevents people from seeking medical evaluation. Someone who snores might feel embarrassed. They might not want to admit to a partner or a doctor that they snore. They might minimize the issue, telling themselves that it is just a quirk, nothing to worry about. But this avoidance of medical evaluation means that potential sleep apnea goes undiagnosed and untreated. The consequences of untreated sleep apnea are serious. The repetitive oxygen drops and arousals create a state of chronic stress on the body. Your sympathetic nervous system is activated repeatedly throughout the night. Your cortisol levels are elevated. Your blood pressure is elevated. Your cardiovascular system is under constant stress. Over time, This chronic stress increases your risk of cardiovascular disease. Additionally, the sleep fragmentation caused by apneas and arousals means that you are not getting adequate deep sleep or REM sleep. Your brain is not consolidating memories properly. Your emotional processing is impaired. You wake feeling unrefreshed, and you spend the day in a state of cognitive and emotional compromise. Treating sleep apnea, typically with a device called a CPAP machine that provides positive airway pressure during sleep, can have dramatic effects on health and quality of life. People with treated sleep apnea sleep better, feel more alert during the day, have better mood and cognitive function, and have lower cardiovascular risk. The treatment is effective, yet many people who snore never seek evaluation. They live with undiagnosed, untreated sleep apnea for years or decades, suffering from the consequences without realizing what is causing their problems. The stigma around snoring is also gendered. Snoring is often portrayed as a male issue. Women are less likely to report snoring, and healthcare providers are less likely to investigate snoring in women. Yet women snore too, and women can have sleep apnea too. The gender bias in how snoring and sleep apnea are perceived means that women with these conditions are less likely to be diagnosed and treated. This is a public health issue that deserves more attention. If you snore, or if someone you know snores, the first step is to seek medical evaluation. A doctor can assess whether the snoring is associated with sleep apnea. This might involve a sleep study, either in a sleep laboratory or at home. The sleep study will measure your breathing, your oxygen levels, your arousals, and your sleep stages. If sleep apnea is present, it can be diagnosed and treated. If sleep apnea is not present, the evaluation can still be valuable. It can rule out other potential causes of snoring, and it can provide reassurance that the snoring is not associated with serious health consequences. Beyond medical evaluation, there are various strategies that might reduce snoring. Sleeping on your side rather than your back can reduce snoring, as back sleeping allows the soft tissues in your throat to collapse more easily. Nasal strips or saline rinses might improve nasal airflow, reducing the narrowing of your airway. Elevating your head while sleeping might help. Avoiding alcohol in the evening might help, as alcohol relaxes the soft tissues in your throat. Losing weight if you are overweight might help, as excess weight can contribute to airway narrowing. But these strategies are not substitutes for medical evaluation. If you snore, get evaluated. Do not assume it is harmless. Do not let embarrassment or stigma prevent you from seeking care. Snoring is not a joke. It is a signal that your body is sending, and you should listen to it. Aging and the less sleep is normal. Fallacy. What changes and what doesn't? There is a widespread belief about aging and sleep. As you get older, the thinking goes, you need less sleep. An older adult, the belief suggests, can function fine on 6 or 7 hours of sleep, whereas a younger adult needs 8 or 9 hours. This belief is so widespread that many older adults have accepted it as truth. They adjust their sleep expectations downward. They accept their poor sleep as an inevitable consequence of aging. They stop trying to improve their sleep because they believe that poor sleep is simply what happens when you get older. Yet this belief is largely false. While aging does change sleep, it does not necessarily mean you need less sleep. What does change with aging is the architecture and quality of sleep. Older adults tend to have less deep sleep and more fragmented sleep. They wake more frequently during the night. They might wake early in the morning and struggle to fall back asleep. The sleep they get is lighter and more easily disrupted. These are real changes in sleep architecture. But these changes do not mean that less sleep is adequate. They mean that you might need the same amount of sleep or more to achieve the same restorative benefits. Think of it this way. Imagine a water filter. When the filter is new, it is efficient. Water passes through quickly and emerges clean. As the filter ages, it becomes less efficient. It takes longer for water to pass through, but you still need the same amount of clean water. You cannot simply use less water just because the filter is less efficient. You need to run more water through the less efficient filter to get the same amount of clean output. The same principle applies to sleep. As you age, your sleep becomes less efficient. Your brain spends less time in the deep sleep stages where restoration happens. But you still need the same amount of restoration, so you might need to spend more time sleeping to achieve it. The research on this is quite clear. Studies examining sleep needs across the lifespan have found that while sleep architecture changes with age, the total amount of sleep needed does not decrease significantly. Older adults who report sleeping only 6 hours per night often report daytime sleepiness, cognitive impairment, and mood problems. When given the opportunity to sleep more, their functioning improves. This suggests that they are sleep deprived, not that their sleep needs have decreased. What does change with age is the ability to achieve good sleep in the presence of disruptions. A younger adult might be able to sleep well despite noise or an uncomfortable room. An older adult might be much more sensitive to these disruptions. An older adult might wake more easily if their sleep is disturbed. This increased sensitivity to disruptions might be misinterpreted as needing less sleep. The older adult wakes more, sleeps less, and assumes that this is normal. But what is actually happening is that their sleep is being disrupted by environmental factors that are more easily tolerated by younger people. Additionally, older adults often have more medical conditions that interfere with sleep. Chronic pain, arthritis, urinary frequency, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, these conditions become more common with age. They disrupt sleep. Someone who develops sleep apnea at age 65 might suddenly experience much worse sleep quality. They might wake frequently, spend less time in deep sleep, and feel unrested. They might interpret this as normal aging sleep changes, but the actual cause is sleep apnea, a treatable condition. If the sleep apnea is treated, their sleep improves dramatically. Medications that older adults take can also affect sleep. Many medications have side effects that interfere with sleep. Some medications suppress REM sleep. Others increase nighttime urination. Others cause insomnia. An older adult taking multiple medications might experience sleep disruption that is caused by the medications, not by aging itself. Adjusting or changing medications in consultation with a healthcare provider might improve sleep significantly. There is also the issue of circadian rhythm changes with age. Older adults often experience an earlier circadian rhythm, shifting earlier in the evening and waking earlier in the morning. This is a real change in circadian biology, but it does not mean that less sleep is needed. It means that the optimal sleep window has shifted earlier. An older adult who naturally wants to sleep from 9 in the evening to 5 in the morning needs the same 8 hours as they did when they were younger, just at a different time. The practical implication is this: do not assume that poor sleep is inevitable with age. Do not accept poor sleep as something that cannot be changed. If you are sleeping poorly as you age, investigate the causes. Are you experiencing pain or discomfort? Are you taking medications that might affect sleep? Do you have sleep apnea? Are you experiencing circadian rhythm changes? Are your sleep environment conditions adequate? Are you getting adequate light exposure during the day? Are you exercising regularly? Are you managing stress effectively? Many of the factors that affect sleep in older age are modifiable. Addressing them can significantly improve sleep quality. Additionally, do not arbitrarily reduce your sleep target just because you are aging. If you slept 8 hours when you were younger, aim for 8 hours now. You might need to go to bed earlier to accommodate circadian changes. You might need to address medical or environmental issues that are disrupting sleep. But the target should remain adequate sleep, not less sleep. Your brain needs sleep restoration as much at 70 as it did at 30. The challenge might be greater, but the need is the same. The mind's role in insomnia. How trying too hard to sleep becomes the real problem. There is a particular trap that many people fall into when they experience insomnia. They lie in bed, unable to sleep, and they become frustrated. They think, I need to sleep, I have to sleep, I need to make myself sleep. They try harder. They focus intently on the goal of falling asleep. They monitor their thoughts, trying to quiet their mind. They tense their muscles and then try to relax them. They engage in various techniques designed to force sleep to come. And the harder they try, the more elusive sleep becomes. This is the paradox of insomnia. The very act of trying to sleep is what prevents sleep from happening. This paradox is rooted in the neurobiology of sleep. Sleep is not something you can force through willpower or effort. Sleep is something that happens when your brain and nervous system are in the right state. That state is one of relaxation, of letting go, of allowing your mind and body to settle into rest. When you are trying hard to sleep, You are doing the opposite. You are activating your mind. You are engaging your prefrontal cortex, the brain region associated with conscious effort and goal-directed thinking. You are activating your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight system. Both of these are incompatible with sleep. This is why people often fall asleep more easily when they stop trying. They lie in bed, frustrated that they cannot sleep, and they give up. They decide, I am just going to lie here and rest, regardless of whether I sleep or not. As soon as they let go of the goal of falling asleep, the conditions for sleep become possible. Their mind relaxes. Their nervous system shifts toward parasympathetic activation. Sleep comes naturally. This is not a coincidence. It is a direct result of shifting from trying to sleep to allowing sleep. The mind's role in insomnia goes deeper than this immediate paradox. There is also the issue of conditional arousal. If you have spent months or years struggling to sleep in your bed, your brain has learned to associate your bed with wakefulness and frustration rather than with sleep and rest. Your bed has become a place where you go and worry about not sleeping. You lie there and check the clock, watching the minutes pass, becoming more and more frustrated. Your brain, being highly adaptive, has learned this association. Now, when you get into bed, your brain automatically becomes alert and aroused. It is anticipating the struggle that is coming. This conditional arousal makes it even harder to sleep. This is why sleep specialists often recommend something called stimulus control. The idea is to re-establish your brain's association between bed and sleep. You go to bed only when you are sleepy. If you are not asleep within 20 minutes, you get out of bed and do something else. You return to bed only when you are sleepy again. Over time, your brain learns that bed is a place where sleep happens, not a place where you lie awake and struggle. The association is re-established. The conditional arousal decreases. Sleep becomes easier. There is also the role of worry about sleep itself. Many people with insomnia develop a kind of meta-anxiety. They are anxious about being anxious. They worry about not sleeping, which causes them to be even more awake and alert. They think, if I do not sleep, I will be exhausted tomorrow. I will not be able to function. This catastrophic thinking amplifies the anxiety. The anxiety keeps them awake. They do not sleep, and the next day they are indeed tired, which confirms their worry. The cycle perpetuates itself. Breaking this cycle requires changing your relationship with sleep. Instead of viewing sleep as something you must achieve, view it as something that happens naturally when conditions are right. Instead of viewing insomnia as a failure, view it as information. Your brain is telling you that something is not right. There is stress or worry or a physical discomfort or a circadian misalignment or something else. Rather than fighting the insomnia, listen to it. What is your brain trying to tell you? Address the underlying issue. The insomnia will resolve naturally once the underlying problem is addressed. Additionally, reducing the importance you place on sleep can paradoxically improve sleep. If you believe that you absolutely must sleep 8 hours, or you will be completely dysfunctional the next day, you create pressure and anxiety around sleep. This pressure and anxiety make sleep harder. If you can adopt a more relaxed attitude towards sleep, recognizing that you can function reasonably well, even if you do not sleep perfectly, the pressure decreases. The anxiety decreases. Sleep becomes easier. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI, is one of the most effective treatments for chronic insomnia. It works by addressing both the behavioral patterns and the thought patterns that perpetuate insomnia. It helps people break the conditional arousal associated with bed. It helps them change their catastrophic thinking about sleep. It helps them develop a healthier relationship with sleep. The results are often dramatic. People who have struggled with insomnia for years find that CBTI helps them sleep well again. The key is that the therapy addresses the mind's role in insomnia, not just the physical conditions of sleep. Your personal sleep truth, building a science-based ritual that honors your body. We have journeyed through the myths that surround sleep. We have seen how the 8-hour standard, while useful as a general guideline, obscures the individual variation in sleep needs. We have explored the architecture of sleep, the cycles of deep sleep and REM sleep that your brain orchestrates every night. We have examined the paradoxes of sleep debt and weekend catch-up, understanding that consistency matters more than quantity. We have considered your circadian rhythm, that internal clock that determines when your body naturally wants to sleep. We have looked at the misconceptions around deep sleep percentage, at the misunderstanding of REM sleep and dreams, at the myths about sleep positions and the importance of listening to your body. We have understood how caffeine disrupts sleep in ways that surprise most people, how alcohol offers false comfort while undermining sleep quality, how blue light is part of a larger story about screens and sleep. We have recognized that temperature and darkness matter, but that other variables like noise, air quality, and humidity matter too. We have understood that snoring is not a joke, but a signal worth investigating. We have seen that aging does not mean you need less sleep, just that sleep becomes more challenging to achieve and maintain. And we have recognized that the mind itself can become a barrier to sleep, and that paradoxically, trying less hard to sleep often allows sleep to come more easily. Now, as we reach the end of this exploration, I want to invite you to synthesize all of this knowledge into something practical, something that serves your unique body and your unique life. The science of sleep is not meant to create more rules, more things to worry about, more ways to feel like you are failing at sleep. The science is meant to empower you. It is meant to help you understand your body better and honor what your body is telling you. I'd like to know, where are you listening from? And what time is it there? Your location and your time are part of your unique sleep story. Your circadian rhythm is synchronized with the light-dark cycle of your location. Your sleep needs are influenced by your age, your lifestyle, your work schedule, all of which are particular to where you are and how you live. There is no universal sleep truth that applies equally to everyone everywhere. There is only your truth. Building a science-based sleep ritual that honors your body means starting with observation. Pay attention to yourself. Notice when you naturally feel sleepy. Notice when you naturally wake. Notice how you feel on different amounts of sleep. Notice how your sleep changes with different routines, different environments, different stress levels. Keep a simple sleep journal if it helps. Not an obsessive tracking of every metric, but a gentle observation. How did you sleep? How did you feel the next day? What was different from the day before? Over weeks and months, patterns will emerge. You will begin to see what works for your body and what does not. Once you understand your patterns, you can build a ritual that aligns with your biology. If you are a morning person, do not fight it. Go to bed earlier, wake earlier. Build your life around your natural rhythm rather than trying to conform to some external standard. If you are an evening person, the same principle applies. Find a work schedule and life structure that allows you to honor your circadian rhythm. If you cannot change your schedule, at least recognize the mismatch and be compassionate with yourself. You are not lazy or undisciplined. You are simply working against your biology. Your sleep ritual should include the basics that the science supports. Consistency is crucial. Go to bed and wake at the same time every day, even on weekends. This anchors your circadian rhythm. Your brain learns when to expect sleep. Your sleep becomes easier and deeper. It might feel restrictive initially, but over time it becomes liberating. You stop fighting your own biology. You stop trying to force sleep. Sleep comes naturally. Your ritual should include light exposure that aligns with your circadian rhythm. Get bright light, preferably natural sunlight, in the morning. This anchors your circadian rhythm to the light-dark cycle of your environment. It signals to your brain that this is daytime. It shifts your circadian rhythm in the morning direction, making it easier to fall asleep at night. If you cannot get natural sunlight, bright artificial light in the morning is the next best thing. Avoid bright light in the evening, or at least be intentional about it. As evening approaches, dim your lights. Reduce screen time or use blue light filters if you must use screens. Let your brain receive the signal that evening is coming. Your ritual should include attention to caffeine and alcohol. Understand your personal sensitivity to caffeine. If you are a slow caffeine metabolizer, limit caffeine to the morning. If you are a fast metabolizer, you might be able to tolerate afternoon caffeine. But pay attention to how you actually sleep, not to what you think should happen. Similarly, recognize that alcohol might help you fall asleep but disrupts your sleep quality. If you use alcohol, use it occasionally, not as a nightly sleep aid. Your ritual should include attention to your sleep environment. Make your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. Address the variables that are within your control, but also be realistic. You cannot always control all aspects of your environment. Do what you can. Use blackout curtains if you need them. Use a white noise machine if noise is an issue. Adjust your thermostat to a temperature that feels comfortable. Invest in a mattress and pillow that support your body well, but do not become obsessive. Your environment does not need to be perfect for you to sleep well. Your ritual should include stress management and relaxation practices that work for you. This might be meditation, or deep breathing, or gentle yoga, or journaling, or time in nature, or any number of other practices. Find something that genuinely helps you feel more relaxed and less stressed. Do it regularly, not just before bed. Chronic stress disrupts sleep. Managing stress throughout the day improves sleep at night. Your ritual should include acceptance of the fact that sleep will not always be perfect. You will have nights when you sleep poorly. You will have periods when stress or life circumstances disrupt your sleep. This is normal. It is part of being human. The goal is not perfect sleep every night. The goal is generally good sleep, with the recognition that some variation is inevitable and acceptable. Most importantly, your ritual should be something that you can sustain. It should not feel like a burden or a set of rigid rules. It should feel like a kind and caring practice that you do for yourself because you value your well-being. If your sleep ritual feels like punishment or deprivation, you will not sustain it. If it feels like self-care, like something you do because you love your body and want to give it what it needs, you will sustain it naturally. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the science of sleep and the myths that surround it. If this experience has brought you understanding and peace, I would appreciate a like and a subscription to the Relaxing Science channel. Also, let us know if you would like to see more content like this. Your feedback shapes the direction of what we create. As you continue your sleep journey, remember this: you are not failing at sleep. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are a unique individual with a unique sleep architecture, a unique circadian rhythm, unique needs and preferences. Honor that uniqueness. Listen to your body. Build a sleep life that works for you, not one that conforms to someone else's standard. The best sleep is the sleep that aligns with your biology and your life. Trust yourself. Trust your body. Trust that when you create the conditions for good sleep and then get out of the way and allow sleep to happen, your body knows how to rest. May your nights be deep and restful. May your mornings bring clarity and energy. May you wake each day feeling genuinely restored, ready to move through your life with presence and vitality. Sleep well, always. End of screenplay, 17,250 words.